And that brings us to our sixth theme, which is going to be, I believe, militant Christianity and religious war in Europe. So it's a kind of continuation of what I was talking about the European Union gradually starting to break up. So Neptune transiting in Mars' signs creates this longing and urge to find meaning through conflict, whether it's political, economic, social, or actual territorial conflict. And something that happened that was really important, one of the first things I noticed during this transit as it began in March was, of course, that the Pope died. Pope Francis died, and it was the election of the first American Pope. This was very symbolic, and I thought, wow, okay, so this is a sign for the times to come. Because we're looking for clues in the first few months of this transit, March to October, what's going to change to be the long term for the 14-year transit. Well, the Pope dies in this era. Okay, so that means we're entering a new era of Christianity. Not just that it was American Pope, that the American Empire is dwindling and they're getting the first Pope, but now we're looking at a new era beginning for Catholics and Christianity in general. And the fact that the Pope is from a falling empire is very important. It's kind of spotting a light on the American Empire, America in general. So we've seen a lot of resurgences in people returning to Catholicism and Christianity. And I believe that's going to continue, and it's happening in the United States specifically. But there have been movements of people becoming, the Orthodox churches are growing as well. And there's this call and this kind of, from such an atheistic kind of morally relative time of Neptune and Pisces, people are seeking to connect to Christianity. There's a resurgence in it. And you can even think of the economic strains that are happening in daily life in America are now reaching to the point where young women are choosing to go to convents and spend 3 months with a vow of silence rather than spend their vacation months or their 3 months of the summer on vacation. And I saw this article in the New York Post, and it says that some of the convents are booked solid, and they can't accept any more women, that this is becoming a really popular thing. And when you think about the economic strains, you kind of get a sense of relief to be able to be in solitude and to recuperate yourself in a convent. And it's also been widely reported that this past Easter, there were record numbers of people going to Easter Mass. And people are just flocking to a kind of a newfound sense that, yeah, I need spirituality back in my life, and the Christian values are what I'm aligned to. And so I'm seeing this trend continuing as well, of people going back to not necessarily the social aspects of Christianity, but seeking an inner connection with their redirecting their soul's path and realigning what they want to do with their life. And oftentimes spirituality helps to realign someone to get back on the path that they want to do. Neptune in Aries is about deeply connecting with your soul's inspiration. Aries, what path am I going to go on, even if it's hard? To get into that mode, spiritual conversion or spiritual realizations greatly help a person to do that. So I think that's what people are being drawn into, of converting to Christianity or reconnecting with Christianity. And if we combine that with what we spoke about in our last video about the borders, tens of millions of people entering into Europe and into the United States, and more specifically with Europe, because most of the people that are entering are from non-Christian countries, you combine that with the rise in Christianity, it's a recipe for religious conflict. And I think that there's going to be a rise in militant Christianity, people taking up arms in the name of defending what were historically Christian countries. And keep in mind that there are 50 Islamic countries in the world, as I briefly noticed, or majority Islamic countries. But all the Islamic immigrants are flooding into Christian countries. So religious warfare in Europe, and I believe in the collective West, is going to be a major theme in the coming decade on a lot of levels. And so the name of the game right now is conflict escalation. And the general context is the rejection of globalism and thus nationalism, thinking about what one's own needs and individual needs are as a group, and also trade protectionism and isolationism.